But say you're Trump, and you say, look, we're ending the war in Israel, and they don't want to hear it, right? Maybe your chief statesman that you send over, you send someone who is a big Israel fanatic. You know I love you. Think about everything. Anytime you say jump, I say how high. But the president has asked that we figure out a way to end this, and let's work that out, you know? So it could be a way to, like, you know, say, look, we're going to send a nice person, or, you know, we're going to send your friend as opposed to a stranger or someone that's been advocating for, you know, Palestinians or something like that, you know? It's like, look, this guy literally says you're just murdering animals. Or not murdering, whatever. You know, putting them down like a hunting dog.
I like the positive. That's a positive angle.
We have to wait and see, you know? Welcome to Loaded Talk. I am your congressman, the third most popular candidate to ever be. I am Frank, and along with me, as always...
What's up, planet Earth? I'm Bean.
Bean. All right, so I want to lead with something. We did something last week that I actually kind of tried to train myself not to do, but we did it anyway. And so I'm going to lead with this because it was a mistake. And I just want to start with this, okay? So pulling up on the screen, we showed this bar graph about the votes from 2012, 2016, 2020, and 2024. And we talked about it. We didn't make any wild specific claims. We just noted that it looked a bit odd. Now, one thing that I didn't realize at the time, I knew Arizona was being real slow in counting votes. They'd only gotten up to 69%. Utah was somewhere around the same thing. But, you know, that's like 13 people. And so what I didn't realize, because I didn't look into it and I didn't click around, is states like California and some other major states were also at like 50%. There's a lot of people in California, okay? So this shows that 2024, Kamala at like 65 and Trump at like 70 or something. Now, there has been more votes here. I need my stuff here. So here's 2020. This was Trump versus Biden. Biden ended up with just under 82 million. If I said 1,000, I meant million earlier. And Trump at about 74 million, right? So if you look at 2024, now more votes are in. Still not all of them, by the way, because everyone's so slow. But Kamala's at almost 72 million. Not 65. She's at 72. And she's still probably going to get another, like, 2 million votes out of California, right? I'd say Trump's going to probably get like 1.5 out of California, and there'll be some other stuff. So she'll end up at like maybe 74 million. He'll be at like maybe 77 million, something like that. So, you know, when you look at it, bloop, I made a spreadsheet. Well, I pulled this off of Wikipedia too.
All right.
Yeah, and so Wikipedia is estimating the totals here for 2024, and their estimates are a little different than mine. So, you know, whatever. But if you just look at the history here, voter turnout altogether, it dropped by less than 2% from 2020 to 2024. It's a bit interesting in that the eligible voters increased by 4 million. So there's 4 million more people who could vote, and there was 3 million fewer people that did vote, right? It's not the only time. In 2012, which was Obama and Romney, that one dropped 1.73%. In 96, dropped almost 8%. So you see, there's times that the total turnout has dropped compared to election prior. And as far as big jumps go, I made some notes here. Bush versus Kerry, he added 12 million votes compared to 4 years prior, and Kerry added 8.5 million to Gore's total. So both of them made big jumps that time. And then when it was McCain-Obama, Obama obviously got more votes than Kerry, but McCain got 2 million fewer than Bush got. So, you know, he got 2 million fewer. Kamala is getting probably somewhere around 8 million fewer. Then again, like if you look at 2020 compared to, where am I? Oh yeah, compared to Trump versus Hillary, Trump got 11 million more votes than he got against Hillary, and Biden got 15.5 million more than Hillary. Now, I still find that a bit suspect, but you can see there's other years, like when Bush versus Kerry, the total voter turnout went up by over 15%. So it's big. It's big, but the other thing to remember about the Trump-Biden year, outside of things like actual malfeasance of suitcases of ballots and stuff, is this is when everyone was locked down, and so all these states, especially blue states, mailed a mail-in ballot to every single voter. So if you were home and you weren't allowed to go anywhere because you're in a blue state and you were locked down, you probably fill out that ballot, and then you just got to stick it in your mailbox or wait for someone to come by to collect it, which they were definitely doing. Those harvesters were going around, oh, have you voted? Why don't you vote right now? Do you need help voting? Like, let's go. And so, I think a good portion of that increase was, I'd say, outside the rules of common election. It was according to state rules for that election during an emergency, not technically illegal, but later determined to not be constitutional. So no one broke the law to get that done necessarily on an individual level, but the state government did violate the Constitution in passing those laws. So, a little caveat in there. It was one of those things where one of those red meat kind of just fun. You see something, you go, ho, 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 and I try to train myself that anytime I see something that makes me feel like that, I go, I'm not biting on this. Let's look into it more. I didn't do it. I was clicking through adding stuff. I just saw that kind of towards the end. I'm like, I just threw it in there. And our conversation took us that way. But to be clear, this the poll, we don't need to pull it back up, but the poll that had Kamala at 65, that's probably around 10 million shy of where she'll end up. And even Trump's going to end up whatever it was. He had it at 70. I think he's going to be pushing 80, And so both the numbers are going to go up, and the bar graphs, although lower, it's going to be a lot less extreme, of course, unless you do the bar graphs in a way to make them look extreme. So that was us. That was me. That was we jumped on it. We shouldn't have jumped on it. It's what I try not to do. I did it, and of course, it bit me in the butt. So unlike, I don't know, say an ABC report journalist who is moderating a debate, if we get something just totally wrong like that, we'll try to lead with it. And I wouldn't say it was totally wrong. It was just, I don't know, whatever. It was wrong. We jumped the gun, Charlie. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, you're controlling the show.
Damn. Thrown under the bus. Oh, man. Okay. So that's that. Whatever. All right. So since last week, yes, son of a. Do this. Since last week, now it looks like it's pretty certain, or I guess it is certain, the Republicans will have control of the House and the Senate. I think the Senate's all wrapped up. They basically called Arizona for whoever, not Carrie Lake, but the Democrat, Gallegos or something, who won by, I don't know, a good enough number that they're like, she's not going to overcome this one, I'm sure she'll challenge. I'm sure there'll be things, but I have a feeling it's going to stay 53-47. So tight win for the Republicans, but win nonetheless. So they will be going into 2025 with the House and the Senate. But I think right now they've got 218, which is the minimum you need to have the majority in the House. And I think they'll probably add another 4 or 5 or something like that. So another just slim majority, not enough for getting 60% when you need that. But, thanks to, I think the Democrats changed it so that there's maneuvers to get around that where you just need 50 plus 1, So that would be, as far as Trump is concerned, I think he's probably looking at that very favorably. It's going to be looking nice for him trying to implement his agenda. And unlike 2016, when he won, and all of a sudden he was like taking interviews, he had Reince Priebus with him, who was the head of the GOP at the time. And so he's like, hey, this is a good guy, this is a good guy. He's like, all right, let's talk to some people. And he was going in blind. He's like, what jobs do we even have to fill? I don't know. What is this? Like this time he went into it. He's going into it knowing all the jobs. And he's starting to make moves already. On the Senate side, and this is the other thing, he is keeping an eye on the whole picture, because I think last time, they had the House and the Senate in his first 2 years. And they didn't do anything with it. Even the tax cut, they just kind of nibbled around the edges. They did some things that I'm surprised haven't had a bigger impact on blue states yet. But I guess New York and California did lose a lot of people during COVID because they changed it where you can no longer write off state income taxes. Because that was the catch. If you lived in California and New York and you had high state taxes, you might still vote on them because it came to your federal income taxes. Well, you can expense that against your federal taxes, which basically means you never pay them. They get divvied up for the rest of the nation to pay. So it was kind of this way for blue states or high state states with state income taxes, because like Missouri's red, but they got a state income tax, and Kansas City's got a city income tax. But it gives cover so people don't feel that burn. So people don't vote you out, things are going good. Oh, we need these taxes for programming, So it gave that cover. That was removed in that Trump tax cut. But still, there was lots of resistance, both from the GOP and obviously the Democrats, as people thought, well, this guy may be a Russian spy that's about to get thrown out anyway. So let's keep our powder dry and do all that. One thing that he has begun right away is getting involved in who will be the next Senate Majority Leader, because it will not be the turtle of the Turtle Club, Cocaine Mitch.
The Turtle Club. Sorry, you just triggered me.
Turtle. Dana Carvey just did an Elon Musk impression that Elon did not like.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a cold open for Saturday Night Live. It wasn't the best impression he's done, but there were certain words he said where I was like, oh, he nailed it there. 'Cause, with impression, you got to get a little hook for certain words. So, like, a lot of it, he just sounded like Dana Carvey, but he did have a couple of hook little words in there. You go, that was good. I mean, it was just sort of him doing, like, jumping jacks and saying, I run the country now. It was fine. People are trying to blow it up into a bigger thing, like there's some Elon Musk Dana Carvey feud, but I think it's probably fine.
Comedy.
Yeah, he just was like, he's like, he just sounds like Dana Carvey, and, which is fine. I mean, for the most part, he did. But I guess Elon Musk made a couple cast members cry when he hosted. Yeah, this one actress that's still in the show, she presented an idea, and he's like, it's not funny at all. And he flipped through it, and he's like, I didn't laugh at any point during this. And I guess she was real proud of it. It made it to air, so whatever. But I guess he made people upset. If you're not used to dealing with a guy like Elon, who I don't think sugarcoating things comes naturally to him.
He's quite eccentric, too.
Yeah, and he's got the Asperger's. He eats the Asperger's. And so, or whatever he's got. And so, but with that, there's, your best things aren't like social cues and doing things like this. But anyway, all that to say, Turtle Club. Yeah, so Mitch McConnell is out. You know, he will not be the Senate Majority Leader, and so it's between John Thune and John. Are they both Johns? Thune and Cornyn from Texas. Thune's from like North Dakota or South Dakota, one of the Dakotas, and then Rick Scott from Florida, former governor, current senator. Scott is positioned as a Trump loyalist, and Trump and everybody who is part of Team Trump has come out strongly in favor of Rick Scott. They are pushing for it. Trump has said, let me see if this quote's in here. He said, well, I don't know what he said. He said something like basically anybody that wants to be the Senate Majority Leader needs to be down with him naming recess appointments. So like basically we're going to push these things through. There was a lot of appointments that got dragged out his first time and didn't fill for forever because it was just, you know, kind of parliamentary stuff. And we're at recess. We'll have to pick it up next time. And all that, and he was saying, no, we're going to do this. We're going to get them pushed through recess appointments. Like anybody that wants to be a speaker needs to commit to doing that. You know, Rick Scott said, I'm on board, and I think the other guys basically did too. Rick Scott is not in the lead, but apparently has been able to peel off some more votes as, you know, some of these voices are coming in from Team Trump. It'll be interesting no matter what. It's going to be horrible. You know, Cornyn and Thune are both like they're very much swampy sorts of moderate deal makers. Like don't try to do anything awesome that might, you know, upset the apple cart. Just do DC as usual. You know, sometimes you win, then you got to give them a win. Then you take one, then you give them a win. You know, 20 million page omnibus bill. Yeah, let's just get it done. Let's get it done. Keep government rolling. They're those type of people. Rick Scott is also a turd. Like, he, you know, he tries to present himself as Mr. Conservative and all this. He's just a billionaire this is his new thing. He wants the power. He's been wanting to be Senate Majority Leader for a while. And like he wants the power. I think while Trump's in there, he will be pro-Trumpy. But I think if you know, some going gets tough for the next guy or whatever, it'll be more about staying as the majority leader in perpetuity. Like he clearly wants to be there until he has dementia and freezes up in the middle of press conferences. Maybe he thinks he has a shot at presidency. I don't think so because, you know, he looks like an alien. He looks like if Mr. Burns and the alien had a baby, that would be Rick Scott. And then he puts on his stupid little Navy hat, and then he looks kind of like he's a child in a cancer ward. We're rooting for, you know? Like, he'll get there. His naval career, of course, was 28 months, and his hat has had a much longer career as a prop. A Navy hat comes up every time he's up for re-election or every Veterans Day or whatever. And he did 8 years as as a governor. He did 6 years as a senator. So, and he just won re-election. So I don't know. He's somewhere in that what did I just say? 14 plus years as a prop. Probably longer. So that hat has seen more action post-retirement than when he was in training or as like the lowest ranking officer you can possibly be in the Navy.
I believe his wife owns a mosquito spraying business in Florida.
Is that right?
Coincidentally.
I assume they do contracts for cities and the Everglades?
I don't know what they do with it. I just know they're associated with mosquitoes.
Well, we got those. That's a lucrative industry to be in this state. And I do, you know, cities and counties or whatever, they do have mosquito control departments. And I imagine they contract that out. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know if it's going to be Rick Scott. I don't know if it's going to be Thune. I don't know. I imagine it's either going to be Cornyn or Scott. And I think both will try to play Trump ball, is my guess. I think if there's something more controversial that the media says is bad, I think Scott is more likely to stick to Trump agenda, and Cornyn or Thune is more likely to moderate, and because they also have an ability just not to bring something to the floor, so they don't have to make a stand about it. But eliminating the Department of Education, for example, they can just not bring that bill to the floor. So that's what Wilton Simpson used to do in Florida to keep constitutional carry from being voted on, because it would have passed. Is he just, for multiple sessions, he just never let it come up for a vote, and it still hasn't come up for a vote to this day. Gun Owners of America will go in there, talk to them, and as soon as they leave, they literally throw the stuff in the wastebasket. Luis Valdez at Gun Owners of America popped back in one day, saw all of his stuff in the trash. The assistant, that must have fallen in. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, so they have ways to manipulate stuff. A quick post-mortem on the Harris campaign that I find interesting is she spent over $1 billion with a capital B. Like, for that short of a campaign, she spent all of the money. She's $20 million in debt right now. Spent all of the money. Let's see.
Yeah, she spent more than she took in, I think.
Yeah, she owes $20 million. She's $20 million in the hole. And the fundraising emails for the before the last filing of the campaign cycle, they sent out this email saying, we've got this very important media buy that we want to get, and we need money. We need money. We don't have enough. And then they didn't get that number. And so the next day they're like, unfortunately we didn't hit our target, but we're still going to do the media buy. We think it's that important. So what we need now is for you to fundraise, so that we can pay for that. And they didn't get it then. So now they're also sending stuff out like, well, there's still going to be challenges for House and Senate seats, and we'll need money for that. And so they're fundraising on that kind of stuff. But it's like they're just using it to pay the $20 million. That's Obama's second term. He got in the hole real big. And one way that Hillary was able to convince the DNC that she was a team player and deserved it more than Bernie was that she was like, I'll pay the debts. So the Clinton campaigns, because they had all their not slush money, they're just like, we'll pay off the debts and we'll go from there. And they went, you're in. And Bernie's like, I won't do that. I don't have money, but I do like pudding. And they said, not today, Bernie. How about never? But here, some of the interesting stuff is, so this is Washington Examiner. Let's see. So Harris campaign spent over $880 million in the election compared to Trump's $354 million. So for anybody keeping track at home, Trump spent less than half as much money. And according to what they disclose, let's see. Yeah, payroll. The fun stuff is how authentic all that love for her was. Let's see. They paid a marketing agency $3.9 million to reportedly recruit thousands of social media influencers to boost Harris. So all those people that all those popular accounts that became Harris stands, a lot of them were on payroll. I'm sure maybe they like her anyway, but you like her a lot better for $50,000, It's like, hey, $50,000, put out a tweet. $50,000, make a little video on TikTok, It's like, okay, I will. Maybe you were indifferent before. Maybe you were like, I think I'll vote for it. I don't know. I'm not really political here. $50,000 political? $50,000 political. And don't get me wrong, I am for sale.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I'll do one.
I'll do 7. I'll do one for all the candidates. Let's see. There's another fun one in here. Event production was a big one where they had musicians like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. They paid more than $15 million for events.
They're expensive.
Yeah, all those concerts they did where it was like, oh, a free event, and what's it's gonna sing, and then Kamala Harris will be there, and like, look how many people showed up to the free thing to hear Kamala. Also the concert, the celebrities were there, but so all those people were not throwing in their time for free out of support. That was a paid gig. It was a paid gig. She was on Oprah Winfrey in that interview where she was like, gat, busting my house. Here, go black. Well, she paid $1 million to Oprah's Harpo Productions for that. So she paid $1 million for that. Oprah did not say, come on, let's talk. They paid $1 million. And then, of course, Oprah showed up for some other stuff. I bet you maybe the town hall and the final rally, maybe that one was free, but...
What a deal.
What a deal. Pay me $1 million, I'll interview you on my show, and then I'll show up to a thing for free. Right. Maybe.
Paid the $1 million and whatever she made just from the show.
Yeah. Advertising. Let's see. Then there's Viva Creative that touts that it works with Oprah, Trevor Noah, the Washington Nationals, and American Express. They got another $1.8 million for events between September and October. There's another 1.7 to another event company. And
This is the end of the article.
Let's see. So, blah, 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 blah. So event. Where is... Okay, so the Call Her Daddy podcast. Are you familiar with this podcast?
Mm-mm.
It's actually a huge one. It started off on Barstool Sports, and it used to be these two gals. Now it's down to the one. There was some sort of beef or whatever, but they talk a lot about like sissy things. And so it's, I don't know, talking about relationships and all the ins and outs, a little in and out. That might be throughout a relationship. So it's got a good base, especially among the ladies. Like ladies like it. So it's a very popular podcast. And so she was on that, and that was like the long form interview that Kamala did. I was like Oprah, and it was like Call Her Daddy. Well, they wanted to do it in a hotel in DC. They didn't want to go to Call Her Daddy Studios, just like they didn't want to go to Rogan's place. They wanted it under control. So they spent over $100,000 building a set for Call Her Daddy in the hotel so they could do the podcast there.
Why? My God.
Because she wanted to be on the show. Because that was the only way it would work. Like, I mean, imagine this. I mean, you don't have to imagine. Look at our budgets. I was going to say, imagine her with the keys to the kingdom and expenses. She's been a senator. She's been a vice president. We've seen. So all of this stuff, all of this very natural support from all these musicians, celebrities, Call Her Daddy, all this stuff that was just grassroots was all paid. I mean, let's see. I think
No wonder her spending was so high.
Yeah, I mean, she's been like just left and right. And you know what? I think I've only seen one of her commercials maybe 2 or 3 times. And like during a football game, there's one. And in the commercial, during football, she used the line from the debate where she said, I've never asked a victim or witness if they're Republican or Democrat. I just asked if they were okay. Which is one of the worst lines that's ever been written when you're talking about a prosecutor.
You're supposed to be doing your job.
There's so many questions you're supposed to ask. If all you ask is, are you okay? Your conviction rate is not going to be okay. It's like, it just doesn't even make sense. Like, it's like, I'm law and order. I've had to prosecute these drug cartels. And it's like, all right. And so we're flipping a member of the drug cartel. What do we do? It's like, are you okay? Let's see. We're done.
Prosecution rests.
Prosecution rests. He's okay. Yeah. So what do you think of... and so, obviously, like Trump, he accepted invitations, or, helped coordinate them, of course, but he accepted invitations on a podcast as opposed to rejecting them. he'd go to see them. Though I think old I just blanked on his name. Funny guy from Louisiana, Theo Vaughn. I think Theo Vaughn had to come to Mar-a-Lago or something like that. But anyway, he'd go. He went on set for Flagrant. Went on set for Rogan. He went all these places, and it does not appear that he paid to go on those places. Seems that he just went there to have a conversation with the people. And apparently, when you look authentic, it works better than when you pay a lot of money to pretend you're authentic.
I'd hate to be the accountant on Harris's team. Like, you spent what to do what?
Yeah, the treasurer. Like, there is no treasure. And there's certain things with accounts or with federal accounts. You're what is it? Like, I think on state run, you can get a credit card, but on federal elections, you can't. There's something like that, which is one of those things like, to get into the hole, you basically have to have like net 30 or something, like bill me later, and then you go, just keep billing me later, you know? But you can't get a loan or something like that unless it's from the candidate. Like a candidate can loan to a campaign, but that's it. So yeah, that is a lot of money spent on failure. Epic failure. So speaking of the podcast, this is a very normal thing AOC is doing. She put up here, and it's very normal, and I wouldn't even think much about it. It's just, she's just got a question to all the people who voted for Trump. Let's hear.
Which podcasts are you listening to? Which accounts are you subscribing to? I'm interested, like genuinely. Let me know which ones specifically, which accounts, which podcasts, etc.
Don't worry about that. It's just a sitting congresswoman wanting to know where you get your information.
What's her motive?
I think she's just curious, Charlie. I think she's just the type of person that goes, you know what? We need to better our reach with our constituents. Where are all these people listening? Now, of course, you could just go to, you can look at the ratings of sorts. There's podcast ranks out there. They're not perfect, but they're pretty dang close. Here's a hint. Joe Rogan's at the top. If you want to talk to like somewhere between 20 and 100 million people, that's a good place to start. Arguably more than that. I think between, like, not without Spotify, with just YouTube and X, between Rogan's posts and Elon's post, I think just those two things, he broke 120 million views. So, like, and then Spotify's on top of that, and, also audio only people are on top of that. So it's like, I'd start there.
But is she curious, or does she have a motive?
What are your thoughts on that, Charlie?
I mean, I'm smelling some censorship, but I don't know.
What? The government trying to shut down voices that they don't agree with? When has that ever happened yesterday?
Nobody's that curious.
No, I'm just curious, like, who you listen to, what accounts you follow. So if you can just, like, list everyone that you listen to and you voted for Trump, that would be helpful. It's like, cool. And, like, are you familiar with Media Matters?
Mm-mm.
Media Matters is largely funded by George Soros.
Great.
Yeah. So they're watchdogs for the media, right? So they look for corrupt media, bad media practices. Do you think they find much bad on MSNBC, Charlie?
Well, there should be no media then, if that's what their job is.
No. Most of it's fine. However, if you happen to not be in the Democrat camp, they see that you happen to be full of misinformation and racism and homophobia and transphobia and others. I don't know. There's isms in there. And so they get down with the isms, but they'll have people... They'll have some... All right, so like when Rush Limbaugh was alive, right? They would assign one or multiple people, and their job every day was to listen to the 3 hours of Rush Limbaugh's program, right?
Oh,
And then any time that something was said that could be controversial, they flag it, right? And then you got to clip it, and then you present it out of context, right? And so then you write a whole article about these 4 words and how it means you're racist or whatever. And then of course, all these shows because of that, like all the big shows, all the big right wing shows was Limbaugh and Glenn Beck and Sean Hannity and these type of people. They made full transcripts available, like on their website, like in part because of these articles popping up. But in addition to just being able to like listen to the shows like for free pretty much all the time, they had text transcripts, but you just ignore those. So you just write a long article about how this person said this, and then that's the focus. And that's what Media Matters does. They also organize boycotts and lawsuits and things like that. And I believe Elon Musk is suing them right now because they were showing that Twitter's advertisers are advertising during neo-Nazi content.
remember this.
Remember this?
Yeah.
So they created an account, and they kept basically gaming the algorithm, figuring out who to follow, figuring out, clicking on different things to see stuff. And eventually, they were able to get an ad served to them that had hate speech. So their feed had some hate speech in there, followed by, Gillette, the best a man could get. Which I guess is probably not what they advertise these days. But and of course it was a deceptive thing in that you had to go out of your way to make sure your feed was largely hate speech to then get an ad to be served to you at that time. And, for Elon, he's a nerd with access to infinite Twitter data. And so he could go and look at the account, how it was created, what it did in order to manipulate this thing. But they organize boycotts. So they'll take stuff, they'll take a line or whatever, and they'll call up all the advertisers. And that's what Media Matters does too, is they write down who your advertisers are. And so they'll call up and say you're advertising for Ford, They go, hey, so Ford's comfortable advertising their vehicles alongside hate speech, trying to kill Hispanics? They go, well, what was that now? And so, you have a marketing department at a major corporation who's naturally just trying to sell, Fords, not trying to, change the world. And they go, yeah, how about this quote? And how about this quote? And they go, it's like, maybe we'll pull our ads. And a lot of these people don't even go, they don't call, hey, Rush Limbaugh, I'd like to advertise on you, like some people do. But other people, they go, hey, ad agency, I would like to be placed in top-rated radio programs between these hours, anywhere in top 10 show in all these markets. Go get it, because they're happy. Michael Jordan, Republicans buy shoes too. It's that mindset. We don't want 3 a.m. We want, 3 p.m. or whatever. And so they don't even know what shows they're on because they don't. They go, we don't care. As long as it's top 10, people are listening to it, we're cool. Top whatever. And so, suddenly they get called like, oh, you're being served up on this kind of hate. And so next thing you know, advertisers drop. That's why Fox News, everything's weird, buy gold and reverse mortgages and hearing aids and stuff. I mean, granted, their viewer base is probably in the market for hearing aids and all that. But that's also how it came to be. That's why you don't see certain brands that advertise everywhere else advertise on a Fox News. That's because of Media Matters. So I can't imagine why AOC would want to know what accounts and what shows people watch. It probably has nothing to do with advertising boycotts and punishing opposing points of view. And I think you're racist against Hispanics for even suggesting that, Charlie. Yeah, blame me for the show, will you? All right, what else? Let me see. That was a little thing. What is this thing on? Okay, so Trump's beginning to make moves, right? This is CNN talking about it. But, okay. He is named Tom Homan as the acting director of immigration. Oh, wait, no, he was the ICE director. And now he's, the head of Homeland Security or something? What is it? The former, as an advocate. What the hell is... Oh, he's the border czar, but his actual role... Here, I'm going to hop over to the Truth Social.
We go with this border czar again.
Yeah, I forget. Well, he put it in one of these things. I forget. I've had to go to Truth Social just to find these press releases. Whatever. Anyway, he's the head of some other, which is AKA the border czar. So he's like secretary of some other. But this is let's watch this guy. This guy. We're not gonna watch this whole 4-minute thing. But this dude got grilled a while ago, and he's actually fairly entertaining. In that whole, like in The Aviator, when who's DiCaprio play? Gosh darn, I'm blanking all the time. But he's getting grilled about war profiteering and all that kind of stuff. And after he cut off his long fingernails and cut off his hair, stopped peeing in milk jars, and he showed up there, and he just gives it right back at him. I love it because it's like, yeah, this is just a private dude giving hell to the government. Now, this guy was an employee, so he's not exactly a private dude, but he has a little bit of that juice to him. All right, this is Tom Homan, the new border czar.
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country.
I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your
This is out of control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years, and yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms. In back of that tractor trailer, I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life were like.
Ugh.
And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34
guy's
years serving
boiling.
my nation is to save lives.
There's that guy behind him
So
video.
for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed. And you're the member of
We
Congress.
agree on that.
Fix it.
We agree on
You
that,
have
but I
failed it. You have-
disagree.
Fix
I
it.
also disagree with your characterization of immigrants as criminals.
Dude even looks like a bulldog.
Gentlemen, time is...
Look, you want to know why there's 50,000 people in detention?
Yes.
You want to know why we have 1 million illegal entries in the United States? You want to know why I have these issues? Because you have failed to secure the border. You have failed to work with this president to close the 3 loopholes we've asked for 2 years to close. So if you want to know why this issue exists,
The
you need
best
to look
of
in the
those.
mirror. You have failed American people for not securing the border and closing the loopholes.
He doesn't
Holman,
back down.
Please respect the chair and the authority of the chair. The
You have-
time
You don't
of
like
the
Mr.
gentleman
Jayapal?
has expired.
I've asked you politely to let me go beyond my time, and you let other people go beyond their time, but not to Tom Homan. You don't get
The alien has the mallet.
Mr. Holman,
That little
we have
gavel.
an agreement between
I'm very-
the Republicans and
respect
the
my authority.
Democrats with the ranking member. We increased the time of one member of Congress who was interrupted by a protest. That is done with the approval of the ranking member. Please respect
I
the
think they're about to
chair's
jump to the
authority.
AOC.
I
Well,
respect the chair's authority, but the chair.
Mr. Holman.
You work for me. I'm a taxpayer.
ooh, you work for
I'm
me.
a taxpayer. You work for me.
Damn right.
So,
Okay,
a
this is- okay.
recommendation of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommend a zero tolerance.
which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested with a child.
Yep. Look at her
Zero
face. Look at her
tolerance
face.
was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman, with
family.
all
No
due
nonsense.
respect,
Wait, watch this.
legal asylees are not
Asylees?
charged with
Is that a
any
word?
crime.
I guess so.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay. We don't gotta go there anymore. It's like, it's not illegal. He's like, this is the exact law it breaks. You're allowed to seek asylum. Yeah, this is the process. Dang it. Well,
She's like, dang it.
I know. So, like, Trump wants to be big on the border, and I have a feeling with this guy, he is going to not have anybody standing in his way in that department. So that's Tom Holman, the new border czar. Haven't really heard a lot of flack about that one. We have, let's see. Oh, one nice thing though. Excuse me. There was a no Pompeo movement on Twitter. It was, hashtag no Pompeo. Everyone's like, hey, listen, this guy that used to be the head of the CIA, he sucks. He's a neocon warmonger. Like, I'm happy that he supports you, but he sucks.
But no.
Yeah, but no. Please, then, like, not him. Not Nick. And so Trump did tweet out, he's like, I'm very happy for the support from Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley in past administrations, and they've done great for me. But no, they will not be part of my new administration. So we're like, oh, good. That's good. And so they thought, all right, here it comes, like the no neocon kind of appointees.
He's listening.
Well, so there's some concerns. Recently, then let's see, the new head, whatever. I'm just gonna go to Truth Social on this to find it. Okay, so Trump posted on Veterans Day, I'm honored to nominate Chairwoman Elise Stefanik to serve in my cabinet as the United States Ambassador to the United Nations. She's a strong, very smart American first fighter. She graduated from Harvard and at the highest ranking woman in Congress. Was the House Republican Conference Chair. She was the first member of Congress to endorse me. That's the key thing right there. And has always been a staunch advocate. I'm a senior member of House Armed Services. All right, so she's going to be the ambassador to the UN. She is I'd say she's in that same John Cornyn Thune camp of being real squishy. She votes Democrat as much as she votes Republican, basically. So it's an odd choice in that, well, I guess maybe in this like new Trump coalition, it's not all that odd that you already got RFK, you already got Tulsi around. So, the squishes, he's okay with certain people. I guess he's looking for certain things, loyalty mainly. And she did defend him during impeachment. She's kind of had his back a lot. Now people are kind of freaking out going like, wow, she sucks, like she sucks. But it's the ambassador to the UN. Who cares? And I think, you send someone out there that's not a total, not somewhat like, if it was me, I'd be like, the UN sucks. All you people are horrible. It's full of terrorists. I don't even know if we should be part of this. But y'all need to start paying rent is what you need to do, because this thing's headquarters in New York City and no one's cut a check for a while, So, avoiding that. So you want an actual ambassador, whatever. The other thing about it is she is a representative, a congresswoman. And so there will be a special election to replace her seat. It is in New York, but it's like a safe red district, though New York red, which is purple. So there will be a time that their House, like once she gets confirmed, the number of votes that the Republicans have in the House will be diminished by one until there's a special election. Possibly it'll go back up for that one. But for a thin majority, it's a bit of a gamble to take away one of your majority votes, So that's kind of one of the things that people are concerned about with this. Mainly, they don't find her, conservative enough in her voting record. But I got some thoughts on that after the next one's here. Let's see. Which one is this? This one, Lee Zeldin. I don't know anything about Lee Zeldin, but he's going to be the head of the EPA. He ran for governor. He almost won in New York, which was kind of surprising for a Republican. Whoa. And he was a congressman for a while, fairly popular over there. But Trump says, I've known Lee Zeldin for a long time. I've watched him handle brilliantly some extremely difficult and complex situations. I'm very proud to have him in the Trump administration, where he'll quickly prove to be a great contributor. So, Trump says he wants to unleash the power of American business while at the same time maintaining the highest environmental standards, including the cleanest air and water on the planet. He will set new standards on environmental review and maintenance that will allow the United States to grow healthy in a well-structured way. So, it's
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's this guy. He was well liked in New York enough that they almost voted him governor in New York, which is pretty impressive. As far as what his EPA bona fides, I don't know. Let's see. There's a couple more appointments here. Let's see if this one. I don't know anything about Mike Waltz, but the head of the NSA, I guess he's a former Green Beret from Florida. We don't gotta show it, but so I don't know. Head of the wait, was that it? Head of the NSA or National Security? I'm sorry.
Okay.
He's a national security advisor. He's in the cabinet as a national security advisor.
You triggered me.
Yeah, I know. I rattled through that one too fast. But yeah, so he's a Florida dude who's a former Green Beret. So national security, special forces. Like he was a colonel, I think, retired as a colonel. So the dude's got experience in military, national security advisor. It's not exactly a dove, It's one of those things like, well, that seems to speak to war, but you do need people of all stripes. I mean, if you're trying to get a well-rounded view of things and you already have a Tulsi and you got an Elon and you got some of these other cats, as long as this dude is not advocating, going to war with anybody, which I have found that more veterans, a larger percentage of veterans have been against war than non-veterans because they've actually been to it, they've seen the results, they've made the sacrifices, and if they had their druthers, they would not go to war instead of go to war, So it can be surprising. There's definitely meatheads. There's always meatheads everywhere, and so there are types that are just like, screw it, let's shove a bomb up their butts, But hopefully, old Mike Waltz is not one of those. And then Mike Huckabee, former governor of Arkansas and Fox News host, has been nominated for the ambassador to Israel. He's of course a super religious fella. He may have been I don't know if he was like a preacher type fella or not, but he's got those vibes, So whatever, I don't know, You gotta name an ambassador to Israel. I don't know.
That's who you go with.
He was a guy. I don't know. It goes down to like these ambassador things. I'm like less concerned about because like who cares? Ambassadors, you go to parties. Let's
show your face.
Yeah, you can show your face. Oh, I'll send a message back to the big guy. Oh yeah, sure. I'll send a message to the guy. Yeah, okay. Like you listen, you hang out in the country, you go to parties. You're there when people want to talk to you. It's helpful in that you've made friends with people connected to this other government, and so y'all can discuss things in a way that is not going to war. It's not so formal. You can kick things around a little bit. Ambassadors are fine to have. They're good to have, actually. But like as far as impact, I don't know that they have any. A lot of times it's just there to reward people for being supportive,
Like, here's this envelope of money.
Kind of like that. Where it's like, here's this envelope of money. It's like, you're the ambassador to France. Got a nice little place in Nice. So, a lot of times it's just you rich people get the good ones, And that's just how it goes. Yeah, ambassadors can be very helpful. Key ambassadors can be helpful. We're not really at danger of like going to war with Israel. If anything, we're in danger of being at war with Israel. So people are getting a little squirrely about some of these ambassador spots. Who cares? Now, what is just rumored? Okay, whatever. What's just rumored so far is that, and he hasn't put it out. This is why I would check truth, is because he keeps putting out a press release for each of these. That Kristi Noem will be the head of Homeland Security, I think. And but he hasn't announced that. She's the governor from which state was that? Michigan, I think. No, not Michigan. That's Whitmer. Maybe one of the other Dakotas. Up there, one of those Dakota places. And she was like on the short list to be his VP. But then her book came out, and she had this chapter about how she's willing to make those tough moves, those tough decisions, do the tough work that needs to be done to get a tough job done. But she did it through this anecdote about. So a hunting dog is not a pet, especially like if you're going like bird hunting and stuff like that. Sometimes all your dogs don't come back, right? They're there to serve. They're there to serve a purpose. They're working dogs. They're not a pet. Sometimes they're not even named because if you go out with a bunch, you don't always come home with all of them, especially in rural places that have like predators. So I guess she was trying to train a hunting dog, and it was untrainable. Well, instead of like, I don't know, giving it up for adoption or something like that, she put it down, and she wrote about it in her book. And a lot of people read that and were like, "You shot a puppy?" And it's, yeah, I mean, that look in your face is pretty much the look that.
Couldn't it just become a pet?
Yeah.
Or somebody else's pet?
You would think there's a shelter somewhere, or you put up an ad on. I don't know what year this was. It might have been younger years, but like somebody will take. It's like because most like the guide dogs, the Southeast guide dogs or whatever. That's what they do. There are dogs that are not trainable for service work, but they don't shoot the Labrador. They go, "Who wants to adopt a Labrador?" And you know what? Everybody does. And so that's a lot of people get very good dogs that way. They go, "Hey, we tried," but it ends up this dog's problem is it loves too much. It just wants to play and love you. And people go, "Well, I think I'm looking for that in a dog." So I have a feeling this untrainable dog probably had an issue with wanting to play and be loved. I'm sure there was a house for it. Anyway, she didn't make vice president after that. But I don't know why. I mean, she's been a governor, so she's handled big organizations, but
what is wrong with people? That's the first thing that comes to your mind is, well, I guess we got to shoot it.
Between that and RFK's like bear that he like killed and threw in the back of a car or whatever, this has been a fun election cycle in like animal abuse world. They're gonna have some awesome rugs at the White House. Is all I gotta say. But yeah, I don't know. So that hasn't been confirmed yet. He hadn't posted it yet, but I guess all the rumors are that she'll be head of Department of Homeland Security, which will be part of the border, part of all that. But once again, has not been announced. Now here's the big one that is causing the most waves that has also not been announced. And that is Senator Marco Rubio being named as the Secretary of State. So that was, Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. I think
she did a great job.
What, Marco Rubio?
No, Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, she had that reset button. Remember that for Russia? Hey, look. But she reset on the whole relationship thing. Vladimir's like, I would kill you. If I thought you were worth it, I would poison you. But, of course, Marco Rubio, big war hawk, big Israel stan. Like, he refers to the Palestinians as animals, and he doesn't say Gaza, he says Palestinians. And he goes, and you can print that. And so he's kind of Israel's got to do whatever they got to do to defend themselves, like kind of blank check whatever they got to do. And I get, I'm perpetually torn to a degree on the Israel thing. Because my position, if I were president, would be like, we don't get involved in foreign wars. You're going to leave us alone. But if you want to get squirrely and attack us, like, I'm going to hit the border of war crimes and I'm going to just flatten your country. Like, and I'm going to indiscriminately bomb you. So it'll be, your government will die, your military will die. There'll be lots of innocents along the way. Like, it will
as fast as possible.
As fast as possible. It's just going to be. So it's like, please don't do that. I don't want you to do that, but I guarantee that that's the result. And then afterwards, we'll deal with the flak and say, hey, we're real sorry about that, guys. But, So on the one hand, that's kind of how I think a strong deterrent is just be like, we're going to keep our powder dry. Don't attack us because we're not going to quibble about whether it's a terror cell or whether it's a state actor or not. If it came from your country, like, control them.
Or be controlled.
control them, or you're part of them, you know, and we're just going to come in whomping and a whooping, you know. And so, which is kind of what Israel's doing. I guess the big difference I see is that Palestine, Gaza, is not a different country. And although they said, well, it's been independently governed by the Palestinians for years, you go, okay, so is it its own country? And they go, no, it's ours. You go, okay, so they're not allowed to enter that way. If they go any other way, they're leaving the country, and they've got their rules over there. So they're just kind of trapped in this area that they can't leave. And you have control over you have control over all ports of entry, including the water, because if you try to get out to the sea, Israeli Navy's like, hey, what are we doing out here? So it's one of those things where it's like this.
And resources.
Well, that's what, yeah, ports of entry equal resources.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, people argue, well, when Palestinians get the resources from international places, instead of building a water processing plant or power, you know, they build bombs. You know, they were sent pipes for irrigation. They turned them into missiles, which is true. And it is true that, you know, that Israel's been supplying them water and electricity because of it. But it's that thing, you've never made the clean break, right? So if you can do this thing where you say, okay, y'all figure it out on your own, but you're also keeping a hand on them to make sure they can't get anything done, that's going to boil up into resentment. And no one deserves an attack like October 7th or 9/11 or anything like that, of course. So, like, not saying that they had it coming or they deserved it or anything. But that's different than a totally unprovoked attack, because that is a long-running tension that bubbled over in that moment, in that way, in a more coordinated way than they had previously. But it has been a bubbling tension that has gone poorly addressed for decades. And so, like, you know, they attacked, and I get it, you got to hit back. But, you know, we said on this show, I said, I don't know how this ends without the total elimination of a people, whether it's the Israelis or the Palestinians. I don't see how this ends without a total eradication of them. And it seems like that's what Israel's going for. And so that's not good. And if you're wanting to end a war, if you want to end this campaign that's happening right now, you know, Marco Rubio does not seem like the statesman that's going to get that done. Now, to counter that, so a lot of people are losing their heads, right? It's like, oh, here come the neocons. You know, Marco Rubio's here. I forget who else they're concerned about. You know, probably Lee Stefanik or whatever. But it's like, oh, here they are, a bunch of neocons. It's back. Don't worry, like Trump's still doing the same old Trump stuff. It's the same old thing. I got a couple thoughts on the matter. One, and I admit part of this is fueled by when I watch a lot of people have very strong emotional reactions in one way, my initial response is there's probably something more to this, you know, like people are reacting very strongly with essentially the same information that I have. And maybe they're right, you know, but they don't know they're right because it hadn't happened yet. But maybe they're right, and especially this one, he hadn't actually been named, but let's assume he's named. If Israel does not want to end this violence, you know, they say, return the hostages and we'll stop. Yeah, maybe. And, you know, now Lebanon, and, you know, it's getting squirrely.
Lockheed and Raytheon don't want it to stop.
Why? What? They are patriotic organizations here to defend America. But yeah, so like, all right. But say you're Trump, and you say, look, we're ending Russia, the war with Ukraine. We're ending the war in Israel. And they don't want to hear it, right? Maybe your chief statesman that you send over, you send someone who is a big Israel fanatic in that way, as opposed to like, it's like, hey, you know we love you. You know I love you. Think about everything anytime you say jump, I say how high. But the president has asked that we figure out a way to end this, and let's work that out, you know? So it could be a way to, like, you know, say, look, we're going to send a nice person, or we're going to send your friend to try and tell you to cut it out, as opposed to a stranger or someone that's been advocating for Palestinians or something like that. It's like, look, this guy literally says you're just murdering animals, or not murdering, whatever. Putting them down like a hunting dog. But yeah, so maybe there's something to that, right?
I like the positive. That's a positive angle.
I mean, it's there's a logic to it. There's logic to it. We'll have to wait and see, but to go immediately like, well, everything that he said he didn't mean, which is possible. But, the first time he got elected, he did a lot of things that he said he was going to do, even things I didn't want him to do, like the tariffs. He did it, like, right away. He seems to be more about doing the things that he says he's going to do, and he likes to talk about doing them, then he talks about getting them done. That seems to be more his speed. So if you assume that he is going to try to get this ended, it could be a positive thing. Also, say your your goal, no foreign entanglements, no foreign wars, not invading other countries, not having proxy wars. You have a war hawk like Marco Rubio, and same thing. Like, you got a guy that's not promising peace and love, but it's like, our goal is no wars, but I get a lot of money from Raytheon. It'd be very good for us to go to war, but we don't want war. Perhaps once again, it's peace through strength or whatever. You speak softly and carry a big stick. So there could be a logic like that to it. I don't know. Only time will tell on this one. But my thought on, and so the problem with whoever he picks, right? If he picks a senator like Rubio, the governor appoints a replacement, and then when the term's up, there's an election, right? So Rubio's in Florida, super red. Basically, DeSantis would get to pick the next senator, which I have a feeling Donald Trump would have a lot of input on. So now you make sure you have a senator who is on board with your agenda. Marco Rubio has done some Gang of Eight type stuff, especially on immigration, where Marco Rubio has been opposed to certain immigration things. He's more of a pathway to citizenship. He's softer on immigration than Donald Trump is by far, and many Republicans, right? So if Marco Rubio is Secretary of State, he does not have a vote in that. He cannot get a group together. He can't reach across the other side. He's not part of it. He literally can't vote on it. And so he's removed that vote from the Senate. Stefanik, there'll be a special election there. She votes with the Democrats as much as the Republicans. She's an incumbent. They're both incumbents, very strong incumbents. Remove that vote. And she's at the UN. So now, that one's a special election. Who knows? The other guy, the Green Beret guy, he's going to be another special election. It's Florida. It's probably safe. Red will probably be somebody Trumpy. So he's probably not too worried about that. But like, Trump is not afraid to fire people. He fired people all the time. It was one of the biggest knocks during his presidency about how turbulent the White House was. How he says he only hires the best people, but he keeps firing all these people. So it wouldn't be crazy for him to take a couple of safe incumbents that might stand in the way of his agenda on the floor when you need Congress to vote for it, pull them into the administration. If they don't hop in line, do what he says, go, thanks, I'll accept your resignation. And now it's like, oh, well, now you're not Senator Rubio, you're private citizen Marco Rubio with, fat pension and deal with a lobbyist and everything else. But like, you're on the board of Raytheon.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting strategy that could be happening.
Yeah, I don't know for certain, but it is. Oh, your text about what time you were going to get here. I just saw. I'm like, did Charlie text me during the show? I just hadn't cleared it. But yeah, so it is something that, I mean, sometimes, just just when you have like employees, right? Sometimes you'll have somebody that you don't know if you want to retain them, and a different position becomes available at your job, and they go, well, I actually would like to try my hand over there. And you go, I don't think that's a good fit for you. But you're already thinking, I don't know if I want to retain you. Well, instead of saying no and also get out, you go, why don't you try it? See how you do. Like, maybe you'll be great, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll be perfect. But while they go over this, you've now replaced that person in this position that perhaps is more important to you. And so when that person decides this job isn't for me, or you go, this job's not for you, the position you care more about has been filled, and you don't have problems with morale, you don't have any downtime. It just kind of goes on.
So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that is what he's doing. I'm just saying
That's a long play right there.
and it doesn't have to be that long of a
That's
play,
true. Yeah.
because it's I'm just saying, like, there's no way I'm the first person to think of that, or or like other people have done this, and he has employed more people than I have.
So it's almost like saying, well, it's yours, but it's your job if you don't play right.
Yeah, like I have expectations. Like, this is and like Secretary of State would be great. Like, if you're Marco Rubio, and you go, all right, so JD Vance is VP. His popularity went like this, just skyrocketed. All of a sudden, everyone's like, "Hey, he's impressive," And so if he doesn't do anything, just totally, crap his britches, like, in 4 years, he's gonna be the front runner to be the Republican nominee. And you go, all right, well, so probably won't be me. There'll be a primary, but I don't know. The odds aren't great. But if I can, he's Ohio. If I can position myself, senator from Florida, former Secretary of State, long, history in the administration, a JD Vance, Marco Rubio, he'll be in his mid 40s. Rubio will be, I don't know, 50-ish, something like that. Rubio's on the younger side of Congress. But you go, all right, that might be something. I can be vice president. After vice president, I'll be well positioned. I was positioned before Trump took me out. So, Secretary of State could be a good hop.
Good resume builder.
Yeah. Yep. And good, good political play, So there could be that kind of calculus in it. But yeah, you have to play ball, and that's the thing. Rubio strikes me as someone who would be happy to have that sort of role, in that you have things you need to do, you have things you're in charge of, but you're not in charge of the strategy, where at the end of the day, if someone doesn't like the thing that you're doing, you go, well, the administration, this is the plan, you listen to the administration, and you can it gives you always that political, like, distance. Like, if something's not so egregious that it's like morally reprehensible, then you go, well, listen, I'm here to support the president. This is his plan, his vision. We're executing it, And then later, if you're running for something, they go, what about this? That was Trump's vision. I personally, as president, I think I would have done a little bit differently, but that's not my job. My job as Secretary of State is to and so I don't know. I think if they do name him, I think he probably will fall in line. I think he'll try to stick out the 4 years and try to get into the VP spot. But along the way, there will be another senator from Florida that is 100% on the Trump immigration agenda, and probably everything else, because he will be hand-plucked by Ron DeSantis. And and then Stefanik, she'll do 2 years maybe. Like, a lot of times the UN ambassadors they'll go to like midterms and they'll stop. So she'll probably end up doing 2 years anyway. Maybe she does 4, but then her half the time voting somewhere else will just be gone, Well, we don't necessarily have time to go through all their thing here. There's one of these will be like short. We'll do one Trump decree. Which one do we want? That's education. Do we want to do deep state at 3.5 minutes? Do we want to do war on free speech, which is, well, it's a little longer. Maybe we'll do the deep state.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's see. What one was this one? Let's dismantle the college system. Yeah, he's got finding these videos. I wish there was a centralized. I still haven't figured out where they're all getting posted to. But it's very interesting to listen to his various decrees, and his plans to do it, because he's definitely talking to people about, ways to keep it constitutional. Because you can hear sometimes he'll start with something, you go, and then he says the idea, like that execution path, you go, no, I mean, technically all you're allowed to do all that kind of stuff. All right, so this is how he says he's going to dismantle the deep state.
Here's my plan to dismantle the deep
See?
state
Just
and
told you.
reclaim our democracy from Washington corruption. Once and for all.
Once and for all.
And corruption it is.
The
First, I will
music.
immediately reissue my 2020 executive order restoring the president's authority to remove rogue
Boys, we get some
bureaucrats,
sin.
and I will wield that power very aggressively. Second, we will clean out all of the corrupt actors in our national security and intelligence apparatus, and there are plenty of them. The departments and agencies that have been weaponized will be completely overhauled so that faceless bureaucrats will never again be able to target and persecute conservatives, Christians, or the left's political enemies, which they're doing now at a level that nobody can believe,
Won't even believe it.
possible. Third, we will totally reform FISA courts,
That
which are
is an
so
important
corrupt
one.
that the judges seemingly do not care when they are lied to in warrant applications.
They're approved like 100%
So
of the
many
time.
judges have seen so many applications that they know were wrong, or at least they must have known. They do nothing about it. They're lied to. Fourth, to expose the hoaxes and abuses of power that have been tearing our country apart.
Nice little edits.
We will establish a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to declassify and publish all documents on deep state spying, censorship, and corruption.
See, this I like.
There are plenty
The commission,
of
I'm like, well, that sounds
Fifth, we will
Orwellian. And I was
launch
like,
a
oh, no, that's
major
good.
crackdown on government leakers who collude with the fake news to deliberately weave false narratives and to subvert our government and our
That's
democracy.
a tough one. Government
When
leakers.
possible, we will press criminal charges. Sixth, we will make every inspector general's office independent and physically separated from the departments they oversee, so they do not become the protectors of the deep state. Seventh, I will ask Congress to establish an independent auditing system to continually monitor our intelligence agencies to ensure they are not spying on our citizens or running disinformation campaigns
They
against
are.
the American people.
I mean, if you could
or
actually
that
do
they
that,
are
cool.
not
But yeah, they are doing
spying on
that.
someone's campaign like they spied on my campaign. Eighth, we
It's not
will
a good angle.
continue the effort launched by the Trump administration to move parts of the sprawling federal bureaucracy to new locations outside the Washington swamp.
I think
Just as I
decentralizing the government
moved the
is
Bureau
always a
of
good
Land
idea.
Management to Colorado, as many as 100,000 government positions could be moved out, and I mean immediately, of Washington to places filled with patriots who love America, and they really do love America.
Cheaper real estate.
Ninth, I will work to ban federal bureaucrats from taking jobs at the companies they deal with and that they regulate. So they deal with these companies and they regulate these companies, and then they want to take jobs from these
The music's ridiculous.
The Michael Bay music.
I know, it's killing me.
public display cannot go on.
FDA,
It's taking place all
USDA.
the time, like with Big Pharma.
Big file.
Finally, I will push a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on members of Congress.
Yo, term limits
This
on
is how
Congress.
I will shatter the deep state and restore government that is controlled by the people and for the people. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that music was ridiculous, and they do not need to cut to that angle. That was a profile shot. He has worked a long time on getting the one shot forward facing. His posture is based on it. Everything he does is based on that. That one angle is just like, it's like, nope, it's not going to be a good one. So out of all that stuff, obviously the one that's, the squirreliest on that is this idea of government leakers who collude with press to weave false narratives. it's kind of you get into that misinformation kind of world, because like government whistleblowers are very important, and they often need to go to the press. Edward Snowden, who he should pardon when he pardons Russ Ulbricht, which he says he's going to do. He still says he's going to do that. Still says he's going to shut down the Department of Education. But that one is not great. It needs to. He needs to have something. I would need to read something very specific about what he means by colluding with the media to weave false. I just hit the damn camera. Weave false narratives. Okay. Because it is like, I don't know if it's if you take something like similar to like libel law or something, where you purposely deliver false information, like the CIA does. Like if you're saying, all right, you can't do, Operation Mockingbird. Okay, now that I'm good. Like knowingly passing false information off in order to pass propaganda. Okay, I'm about that. If you say you can't say meansy things about the government, I don't like that. Because, like, right and wrong, or true and false, should be black and white. But sometimes there's just a little bit of gray in there, and you go, well, it's like, well, it's not false as much as it is their opinion on the outcome of this true thing is a difference of opinion. So that's that one thing you get real squirrely about. But term limits, I like that. And I like, some of that other stuff. What do you got?
Well, yeah, because China regulates on speaking against the government.
Boy, do they.
Heavy.
They sure do. That's why you can't watch Winnie the Pooh over there. The cute little chairman they got over there, that president. You just want to give him a bowl of honey. Oh, bother. Piglet, I think we'll have to kill the Uyghurs today. Well, I don't know where to go from there. All right. Well, until next, subscribe, tell friends, alerts, all that stuff. What do you got till next week?
Nothing.
Oh, bother. All right, let's get out of here.